China's electric vehicles are dominating the world's EV market and is doing it fast. China now makes 6 out of every 10 electric cars sold globally, with BYD dethroning Tesla as the top dog last year. The secrets are crazy affordable tech. Think the $10,000 BYD Seagulls model, and a charging network bigger than all other countries combined. And China's EVs are flooding Europe while you watch this. Love it or hate it, China's not just leading the EV race, it's rewriting the rules. So, what's the secrets behind it? What did China do in the past 20 years to come at this point? As of 2024, China has 129 companies selling new energy vehicles. You know, electric cars, hybrids, that kind of thing. But here's the kicker. Consulting firm Alex Partners predicts that by 2030, only about 15 of these companies will actually stay financially viable. That's crazy. Now, the big question everyone's asking is, can new energy vehicles completely take over gas cars by 2025? Well, the turning point actually happened a year ago. Back in April of last year, the adoption rate of new energy vehicles in China crossed 50% for the first time. That's huge. But then, by the end of the year, things flipped back and gas cars regained ground. Fast forward 5 months, it flipped again toward new energy. This moment isn't just a blip on the radar. It signals a massive shift in the auto industry and proves that China, after decades of hard work, has caught up in a field where foreign players used to dominate. There are at least 3 critical stories behind how China planned and made key decisions in the car industry. Let's dive in. The first story takes us back to 1978. Picture this. It's a time when China was rebuilding after years of turmoil, and the global car scene was in chaos too. That year, the second oil crisis hit. The US was dealing with a situation kinda similar to today. Oil shortages, sky-high prices, inflation spiking, and manufacturing competitiveness tanking worldwide. Meanwhile, Japanese cars, which were small, fuel-efficient, and cheap, flooded into America. By 1980, Japanese cars grabbed a 20% share of the US market, and Japan became the world's top car producer, beating out America. In China back then, things were rough. The country had barely any cars, just 0.5 vehicles per 1,000 people, ranking 140th globally. Sedans and off-road vehicles combined only produced about 5,000 units a year, less than what a big foreign company could churn out in a single day. In November 1978, less than a month after Deng Xiaoping visited Japan, Zhou Zijian, then China's minister of the First Ministry of Machine Building, led a team to Europe to find partners. When they got to Germany, they noticed something odd. Not many Mercedes on the streets, but tons of Beetles and Golfs instead. After asking around, Zhou made a snap decision. The delegation hopped on a train and trekked several kilometers on foot to Volkswagen's headquarters in Wolfsburg. A group of Chinese folks in Zhongshan suits, dusty and tired, showed up at the gate. Zhou said to the guard through an interpreter, "I'm China's Minister of Machine Building, and I'd like to chat with your factory leaders." This unannounced visit left a touching moment in car history. The book 1000 Days in Shanghai, the Volkswagen China Romance describes it. That day, Werner Schmidt, a Volkswagen board member in charge of sales, happened to be in the office. When he got the call, he said, "Invite him to my office. It would be my honor." That's how China first connected with Volkswagen, leading to the first Sino-German joint venture car company, Shanghai Volkswagen, in 1984. More global car companies followed, kicking off over 40 years of joint ventures and the strategy, trading market for technology. Moving on to the second story, a letter from top scientists suggesting China develop new energy vehicles. In 1992, that year, the Communist Party's 14th National Congress set the goal of building a socialist market economy. The car industry was booming, lots of joint ventures started up, and national car production broke 1 million units for the first time, hitting 1.06 million with a 49.7% year-on-year jump. Shanghai Volkswagen Santana was selling like hotcakes at 200 units a day, priced around 200,000 yuan each, totally in demand. On June 25th, the Beijing International Auto Show opened with nearly 500 exhibitors from 19 countries. But despite all this excitement, one scientist gave a cool-headed warning. On August 22nd, Jian Zhaisen, a key figure in China's 2 bombs, 1 satellite program, wrote to then Vice Premier Zhou Jiahua, "This year, China's car production will hit 650,000 units. By the 2020s or 2030s, it could reach 10 million. He stressed that protecting the environment would be crucial. Qian pointed out that the US, Japan, and Europe were all pouring resources into high-efficiency batteries to develop electric cars. Qian was way ahead of his time. He urged China to launch a state-led new energy vehicle plan, saying, "We can't wait around. We need to set up a battery-powered car plan now, catch up, and aim to lead." The top brass responded fast, putting electric vehicles into the 8th five-year plan, which was from 1991 to 1995, as a key national tech project with 15 million yuan in funding. That started China's electric vehicle R&D. During the 9th five-year plan, the Ministry of Science launched a major project, designing concept cars and prototypes that hit 110 kilometers top speeds, 130 kilometers ranges, matching top foreign models. Looking back, Qian nailed it with his tech foresight. The nickel metal hydride batteries they tested back then could go 250 to 300 kilometers on a charge. Way better than lead-acid batteries, making them practical. He also predicted something like today's connected cars, using information networks to link vehicles, roads, and human thought. Basically the early version of autonomous driving. In 2021, news went viral about Qian coining Lingjing 30 years ago, which is now known as virtual reality. From the 1980s to 90s, he pushed for AI, publicly backing national smart computer plans. Qian thought the future would be human-machine integration, with humans in charge. In letters to students, he drew diagrams, saying Lingjing tech is the next revolution after computers. It'll spark massive changes worldwide. The book Energy and Civilization notes that energy shifts are gradual, old systems stick around, and new tech takes time to dominate due to factors like cost and accessibility. By the 90s, new energy vehicles were on the radar elsewhere too. To meet California's early 90s zero-emission vehicle mandate, General Motors hatched the EV1 in 1996, the first modern electric car. It was way ahead of its time with a sleek design, aluminum body, and an AC induction motor packing 137 horsepower. But with lead-acid batteries, it only got 60 miles per charge, and the charging network was spotty, limiting its use. General Motors sunk over $1 billion into it, but only 1,117 units rolled out, costing a fortune and sparking internal fights. In 2003, General Motors killed the project and recalled and crushed all EV1s. Owners held a funeral for the car, and Hollywood made a film called Who Killed the Electric Car? Word is, that event inspired Tesla's founding that same year. 6 months later, Elon Musk invested and became chairman, saying car giants murdered their own EVs, creating an opening for new players. The film's director later made Revenge of the Electric Car about Tesla. In 2017, Tesla overtook General Motors as America's most valuable car maker. Now, the third story. Another letter to the top leaders, this time in the 2000s. China didn't see a kill or revenge plot, but leapfrogged ahead, building the world's biggest EV market in 20 years. In 2000, Wang Gong, Audi engineer, wrote to China's State Council, suggesting new energy vehicles are an entry point we can catch up and surpass others. A year earlier, invited by the Education Ministry, Wang had led a German auto engineers delegation to China and was shocked. Back then, some in China advocated an import-first mindset, but Wang worried about energy, pollution, and traffic challenges from a car-heavy society. He wrote that China could innovate EVs and hybrids to beat foreign rivals. What happened next? Well, in 2000, Wang was hired by the Ministry of Science to head an EV project. He set up a new energy vehicle center at Tongji University. By 2001, the National 863 Plan launched a major EV initiative. Wang became Minister of Science in 2007. As the State Council says, the government backed it, with scientists, industry, and officials working together to turbocharge the car industry. Wang later told CCTV that in 2000, he predicted China would need 20 years for mass EV commercialization. From 2000 to 2020, EV's share of total car sales slowly rose to 5.4%. Then, from 2021 to 2023, new energy vehicles exploded. Adoption hit 14%, 27%, and 33%. In 2024, China became the first country to produce 10 million new energy vehicles a year. Exports topped 2 million, making it one of the export's backbone. 2024 was the turning point. In early April, new energy vehicles hit 50.4% of retail sales, overtaking gas cars for the first time. By July, national car sales were 1.7 million, with EVs at nearly 880,000, beating gas cars' 840,000. That meant new energy vehicles hit 51% monthly share for the first time. After leading for 5 months, EVs lost ground to gas cars by year-end. In December 2024, EV sales fell to 1.3 million, with adoption dropping to 49% from 52% in November. In 2024, total EV sales hit 10.9 million, up 41%, while gas cars slid to 11.99 million, down 14%. That left a 1.09 million unit gap. Gas cars bounced back in Q1 this year, hitting 57% adoption. On June 11th, the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers reported that, after 5 months, EV's share broke 50% again. Insiders predict 2025 car sales will hit 23.4 million, up 2%, with EV at 13.3 million, up 20%, and 57% adoption. BYD's president Wang Chuanfo believed retail adoption will hit 60% in 2025. But there's a twist. Legacy car giants are hitting pause on full electrification. In June this year, Audi CEO Gernot Döllner confirmed Audi won't stick to its 2033 plan to stop selling gas cars, and it nixed the idea of halting new gas car R&D by 2026. Audi says it'll launch new gas and plug-in hybrid models from 2024 to 2026 for flexibility. Last year, Mercedes ditched its 2030 target for all EV sales, aiming for 50% new energy including hybrids by 2030, and keeping gas hybrids in Europe and North America. Volvo also dropped its pure EV-only goal by 2030, targeting 90% hybrids and EVs. BMW always pushed multiple powertrains with no clear gas exit date. So, brands like BMW, Benz, Audi are all adjusting their EV strategies. Why? Globally, adoption varies wildly based on charging networks, policies, and acceptance. In Europe, EVs only had a 22.7% share in 2024. Even with EVs booming, gas cars aren't going extinct overnight. It's a gradual shift. As Wang Gang put it, "We've got over 30 million units of gas engine capacity. You can't sink that in a few years." Fun fact, as the world's top oil importer, China's crude oil imports dropped 1.9% to 553 million tons in 2024, the first non-pandemic decline in 20 years. China sources from over 40 countries, but US imports fell to 964,000 tons, which is 1.7% of the total due to tariffs. Though the impact was limited, the battle between old and new car forces is still raging. At April's Shanghai Auto Show, the fight was obvious. Overhyped smart driving cooled off, and EV makers shifted from specs to safety. Of the 100-plus new cars, 43 were all new models, half SUVs, with EVs making up 70%. Traditional car makers fought back hard. FAW Audi launched the A5L and Q5L models with Huawei's Qiankun assisted driving system. Volkswagen's ID.ERA concept used an extended range hybrid. GM's Buick rolled out a premium new energy sub-brand, Zhijing, with a flexible platform for MPVs, SUVs, and sedans, handling pure electric, plug-in hybrid, or range-extended options. Geely and Renault's joint venture Horse Powertrain debuted at the show with a hybrid system combining engines, motors, and transmissions, flipping from oil to electric to oil. Gas engines aren't standing still, and the old versus new story isn't straightforward. China's auto industry is juggling multiple paths: charging, battery swaps, hydrogen, all moving forward. In the future, China needs to solve grid bottlenecks, autonomous safety, and integrating smart connected systems. The industry's in a brutal fight. In late May, multiple government departments warned against cutthroat competition and disorderly price wars, urging companies to self-regulate and pay suppliers on time. With the State Council's regulations on ensuring payments to small and medium enterprises kicking in June, setting a 60-day payment cap, over a dozen car makers pledged to pay suppliers within 60 days for stable supply chains. One more countdown to watch. New energy vehicles are currently exempt from purchase taxes, but from 2026, that tax hits 5%, rising to 10% by 2027, which could dent sales. A keen observer might spot Wang Gang, now head of the China Association for Science and Technology, at 2 Shanghai Auto Show booths. One was China's first fuel cell car with low-temperature solid-state hydrogen storage, co-developed by SAIC and Jineng Technology, aiming for breakthroughs in mass fuel cell adoption. The other was Xingqing Technology, the only Chinese chip supplier covering both smart cabins and advanced driving SoCs. In 2024, Xingqing's 7nm smart cabin chips shipped 1 million units, topping the domestic market, and became the first Chinese auto-grade chip supplier to win big overseas orders from Volkswagen. This focus on hydrogen fuel cells and smart chips signals China's push to tackle core tech bottlenecks. To really get today's shakeup, there's a fifth story before the first oil crisis. In June 1973, a little-known Wall Street analyst named Charlie Maxwell flew to Detroit to warn the big three car makers. He studied oil trends and saw that as countries urbanized and industrialized, dependence on oil would soar, leading to a price surge and revolutionary chaos. But Detroit was living large. Cheap energy, steady supply, cars selling like crazy. Maxwell couldn't meet top brass. Junior managers brushed off his alarmist talk. 4 months later, the Fourth Middle East War erupted. The US got involved, OPEC embargoed oil, and prices rocketed from under $3 to over $13 a barrel. Western economies tanked, and Detroit regretted its stubbornness. Journalist David Halberstam captured this in The Reckoning, quoting sharp observers who saw 1973 as the last moment of the old industrial order. Years later, a Chrysler manager told Maxwell, "You're the last person I want to see. God, I remember your warning." Long stories. That's it for today. If you like the story, can you hit the like button? I'm Sam. Catch you next time.